Good evening, everyone. You are watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller, live from the man cave as ever. I'm joined by three very special guests, and we're going to be looking back at an epic away victory that was nearly a nightmare at Bournemouth. Of course, it is. It is Halloween after all. And we've got a thrilling trip to look forward to on Tuesday night in Marseille. Joining us from uni, he's a resident student. He's always tired because he's a student. James, how are you?
I'm all right. I've been awake for about 15 minutes, so we're just
Who
waking up.
sleeps at this time?
Well, it's because I had to wake up early to have lunch with my mum, and I had a bowl of wine at lunch, and I was going out tonight, so I thought I'd have a nap, and I slept for 6 hours instead of like 2. So,
like a power nap. So now you're going to be up all night, probably.
Oh, I was going to be anyway, but at least now I won't feel tired and up all night. But thanks for having me on. Pleased to be here. Get to talk about the Bournemouth game twice.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should be well rehearsed, hopefully.
Just about.
HG, all the way from Vienna. Your clock's moved too. How's your Halloween been?
Not bad, actually. Like it's weirdly quite a big thing here, but only because tomorrow is a national holiday, so everyone can go out tonight and get absolutely rat-arsed.
You're quite miserable about it, though, right?
I don't love Halloween. I wouldn't say I'm miserable about it. I just don't care for it. Like, I do what needs to be done so that my daughter's happy. She was happy today.
I do what needs to be done.
Yeah. Like she wanted me to put cat ears on, and I was like, I did that last year, sweets. Come on, I like that. But no, she was happy today, and that's all that matters. So I'm off work. My daughter's off school. Therefore, she needs to be taken care of, and I think she was today.
Lots and lots of candy. Becky, trick or treat?
Treat, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Sending some virtual candy your way. Have you had many people around? Did you make an effort, decorate the house or anything?
No, I'm not one for Halloween. Like HG said, I think being in a school, you kind of have to sort of play the game. And the kids went back to school today, but yeah, Jack went trick or treating, and Charlie, the 14-year-old who was too cool to do it, of course, got dressed up and went as well. But I was just saying before we came on air that it started raining at 6:05, so it was brilliant. They got in at 5:45, bags of stuff. Because to be fair, where we live, everyone does kind of join in. They are quite good. And then it's actually poured it down since, so we haven't had any visitors, which is just perfect.
Oh, well, there you go. Bonfire night, more your kind of thing?
It's throwing money into the air, into the sky. Not massively keen on that either. But we have an organised event that we go to. So, yeah, we'll go to that on Saturday. But I need to go to bed early because I'm going to Liverpool on Sunday, so I need to get up early for the drive.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good one, I hope. Unfortunately, Diver the Fiver he was supposed to be joining us tonight, Diver the Fiver, but he's had a horror show with his IT, so he won't be with us. Never mind. If you're watching, as 38 of you are already, please do smash that subscribe and like button. Leave us a comment, leave us a super chat, make a Halloween, and we will try and get through as many comments as possible over the next hour. It's great to see you all in the chat, especially our channel members. Massive shout out. I can see Mr. Muir there pointing out that we are late again. And Kerry, welcome to the show. So let's talk Bournemouth 2, Spurs 3. I was nearly right in my prediction. I predicted a 2-2. Starting lineup. The HG, any surprises?
Look, I think we all knew that Ramiro wasn't going to be playing. So it was a question of whether we stayed with the 3-4-3 or if we went 3-5-2. We chose 3-5-2. Obviously, Bentancur didn't play, which is always a bit of a surprise because you think he's definitely one of the first names onto the team sheet. But yeah, I mean, with Spurs, it is kind of less now about who's going to play and more than how we're going to play. So seeing Sanchez and Royal never gives anyone too much hope. But we know it. On Spurs, even with a back three like that, can keep a clean sheet. So you just kind of, it is down to how we play rather than who is playing.
Becky, does Royal give you nightmares? Is he a horror show at right wing back? I mean, after the previous game, I think it was fair to say after that no-look pass against Sporting Lisbon at home, everyone was gunning for anyone else, even me, to play right wing back. So was it a surprise to you when he was picked?
Yeah, I think so, because being in the stadium on Wednesday as well, and the kind of that sort of like that no look pass was just straight at the south stand, and you just the groans were audible. The thing for me is that I'm starting to doubt Sanchez more than I used to. We've talked before about how when Romero was injured towards the end of last season and Sanchez came in and broadly did okay, and then this season he's come in and he gave away the penalty early against Leicester, and just the two of them, are not used to playing together, and it just kind of showed because both goals were just catastrophic. It's just, and because of hearing about tonight, if Romero's not playing tomorrow, it does fill me with dread slightly that we may have Sanchez and Royal again tomorrow. At least on Saturday he made changes and he changed that and he brought Dyer back on and that sort of thing, but. It does worry me rather.
James, 6 changes to the starting lineup. Obviously, you got Sanchez and Romero. Are they the Ant and Dec, the comedy duo of Spurs? And was 6 changes too many, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. This is something Pochettino used to do a lot actually as well. He changed the entire back line. I think putting in Longley and Sanchez into the back line, Longley, Sanchez, and Royal. No, don't do that, please. Don't take Dyer out. Like, we can't really afford to do that to the point where bloody Conte had to sub Dyer on in the game. Yeah, I don't mind, most of the lineup as well. It's just, bloody Royal and, no. Sanchez, no. I did think he was going to play a 3-4-3 and play more on the right side, which he didn't. But then he did in the second half. So, yeah.
Conceded on a classic counter-attack. Kiefer Moore 1-0. I've got in my run sheet that Longley got turned easily, which means Davo definitely wrote the run sheet and is pursuing his anti-Longley narrative. Je suis HG. Do you think that was... Mosh too. Do you think that was the case? Do you think it was Longley's fault for the goal, or do you feel it was just a combination of things?
I mean, I don't think he was turned at all. I mean, Solanke played the ball to the side, and Longley maybe wasn't expecting it to go there. It was all a bit weird. Like, I don't know where Davies was, because surely he should have been next to Longley and he was in front of him. We can talk about what Sanchez did, trying to cut out a cross that never went in that direction. Yeah. So, like, if I'm looking for blame, probably more on Sanchez, because at that point, Davies is getting back. Maybe Davies could have got a block in on the, if Tavernier didn't have Kiefer Moore in acres of space, if Sanchez had stayed with Moore, then maybe Tavernier would have been unable to get the shot off. I don't know. But with Sanchez coming across, he made the decision quite easy for the winger. But yeah, like blame. I certainly don't blame Longley for it. I mean, every defender gets beaten at some point, or there's a bit of skill. It just so happened to a Bournemouth goal. I don't think had really much to do with Longley at all.
There is definitely a Longley, anti-Longley agenda from Davo. Let us know in the chat if you agree with that. I'd like your opinions on Longley tonight. Becky?
The thing for me for the goal was Sanchez, like you just said then. Why didn't Sanchez just drop back and go towards Moore? Why did he feel he had to go towards the ball? And then if he's going to go to the ball, stay on his feet. Why did he then sort of dive? And it just made, like you just said, it just made it so much easier. It was quite a nice finish, but it just made it so much easier by the kind of unpositioning of Sanchez and the going to ground. Even if he'd gone in a dodgy position and stayed up, there may have been a chance he might have intercepted it. With the fact that he goes to the full, which reminded me of the City game when he did that in the City game, and like I said, the Leicester thing. It's just he goes to the ground far too much for me. It just makes me very nervous, Sanchez, and he didn't used to.
Yeah, Sanchez. So obviously they scored, and then everyone's favourite boogeyman, Emerson, launched the ball into outer space. It is believed. Is that confirmed, James? Is it there with Elon Musk's Starlink satellites now?
Have you not seen? They've just retrieved it at the International Space Station, and they're actually having a kickabout there now as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that,
It's there
that might
with
be-
it's there with Dyer's ball from the penalty against Chelsea. Do you remember that one? Me and Jack used to joke that landed on the moon. It's next to that ball.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It takes a lot to kick a ball out of a modern stadium, doesn't it? As well, HG, you've really got to have some special technique to do that.
I mean, does the Vitality Stadium count as a modern stadium? I mean, it's what 12,000 capacity. I'd like to think I could do it, but it was very much like that scene from The Office where he throws the shoe over the roof of the pub. I mean, it was just kind of we could all probably do that, but maybe not on the volley. Doing it on the turn on the volley that's a different bit of skill. I probably would have missed the ball completely, but it doesn't look good. I mean, none of us thought it was going to find the top corner. We'd be all more shocked if it had gone in.
Yes.
So
Yes.
He's got the confidence to try. I suppose we should be grateful for that.
I know. He's impervious, isn't he? Half time then changes Lucas for Skip. A bit harsh on Skippy James. He seemed to be again having a decent game.
Yeah, he was the only one who was getting into forward positions. When you look at his heat map from first half, he was getting into really far right positions, like where a right winger would be, right? I thought he was probably, of our midfield three, the one who was looking to get forward the most and create chances. I mean, there wasn't tons of quality in those positions, but he was making the runs. He was getting forward, and he had more quality in those positions than bloody Emerson Royal. So, bit harsh, perhaps. Maybe Conte doesn't trust him the full 90 yet. Maybe he just trusted Højbjerg and Bissouma and the two more. But yeah, I didn't think Skip was bad. I didn't think he did anything necessarily that wrong. But yeah, I think bringing Moore on at halftime was good. As changed system. I think Moore. I don't know if he necessarily individually improved us, but we did look better from the start, really.
I mean, Lucas coming on, HG, you must have been over the moon.
I just thought it was interesting when James talked about Skip being in more far right, and I was like, "Oh, are we going there?" I thought far right was Lucas's thing, but
he's here all week.
I mean, it's interesting how Lucas, despite being far right as a person, doesn't ever really want to play there, which is all I ever really wanted. I'm not upset. I mean, Skip found himself in some really good positions in that first half, and we couldn't take advantage. And part of that was down to Skip's, inability to do, something that maybe Lucas could have done better. So I understand the decision, but it just feels that Lucas, when he's in, we've talked about this for 2 years, 3 years. Lucas, when he's inside, it's very much hit or miss, and mostly miss. I like him on the touchline. So I don't think Lucas really changed a great deal. Certainly not compared to the next pair of subs that happened. They really did change the game. But I don't mind Lucas. I want him to scare his pace, and he hasn't done that at Spurs for a long time. Because if he can't beat someone within 5 yards, that's it.
When I was watching it on Saturday, I said to Dave, I was like, I love Mora. I'm always like a positive kind of supporter anyway, but it always baffles me that he scored those goals in Ajax, because you just think you don't see that ever coming again. That, like you just said, he makes the runs and then he loses the ball, or he makes the runs, or he gets fouled, or he makes the runs, or he loses the ball. And you think those 3 goals in Ajax were like it was stuck to his foot. And sadly, I don't think we're really going to do that again. Yeah,
quite bizarre when you think about that he scored a hat trick in that game. I mean, he scored one other hat trick. I think that was against Bournemouth or someone terrible.
Palace, wasn't it? Palace, Huddersfield. Yeah.
Same difference. Back the right. But my point is, he just like there's a player in there, but he's come out like twice to play in his entire Spurs career. He's been very, very average.
That Lucas hat-trick in Amsterdam, obviously it's a brilliant night for us all. But when you think about it, like they were all with his left foot, which seems very rare. For anyone, it's quite rare, but especially for Lucas. But those goals, like, the first one, he doesn't have to think, right? Because Dele's done most of the work. He's just run onto the ball. And then the second one, he's got no option. He doesn't really want to pass it. He's just trying to find the space for shot. It's a brilliant goal. Absolutely brilliant goal, that second one. And the third, again, like, Dele is there.
He hits it early.
He's just providing someone in a forward position, which, again, like without Kane, we needed it. But none of those 3 goals did you really think, okay, like Lucas is a massive team effort. It was just like, the second thing happened because Llorente missed a practically open goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I just think that Lucas, the most comfortable he looked at in the game against Bournemouth was when he played wing back for the last 7 or 8 minutes.
I'd keep him there, quite frankly. But there you go. Former Spurs player Adam Smith. Did I miss this? Who was Adam Smith, and when was he a Spurs player? I don't even remember that, Becky.
I read that before and was like, I don't know who that is, and I didn't hear him say it over commentary either. But it says in the run sheet, doesn't it, that with more hadn't scored, was it since the first game of the season or something, and then you instantly know that he's bound to score. But yeah, I don't know who that Smith person is.
Adam Smith was the Spurs youth product and was around the same time as Kane, I think.
Okay.
And so he went out on loan to similar teams to what Kane did, Leyton Orient probably at some point. And then he went to Bournemouth on loan, and it stuck, and he's been there ever since, pretty much. But when someone like him, who's had 6 or 7 years at Bournemouth, Premier League level, high level Championship player, it's the type of youth product you think he may have been good enough for Spurs at some point, if only as a backup. Because I think he played kind of as one of the 3 centre backs on Saturday, which is not usually a thing. He's kind of a fullback who can play either side, but he's had a very good Premier League career. I mean, like lots of players don't play for 6 or 7 years in the Premier League, but I think he only got 1 sub appearance for Spurs first team in a relatively meaningless game.
But it's a beautiful cross he put in, and more. Typically against Spurs, doesn't score since the day of the season, then scores a brace with a beautiful header. Should Royal have done better with the cross, James?
I think it's easy to say he should have. It did look like he got bullied quite a lot. But at the same time, Kiefer Moore is, I think, like 6'4". He's a very tall guy. And I don't know, he did go for it, but he was essentially just bullied by Moore. I don't know if that's a case of just Moore being better in those positions or Royal being crap. I mean, a bit both, really. I think
it felt to me like Sanchez and Romero kind of almost banged heads and sort of almost kind of tackled each other, didn't they? And Moore beat them in the air, but the two of them just sort of ended up on the floor, kind of both looking at each other like, what was this? And the look on Lloris's face as well. It's just calamitous.
Yeah, I felt like Royal, knowing that he's 3-4 inches shorter than Kiefer Moore, maybe even more. I think he decided, I'm not going to win this if it becomes a straight battle in the air. So I'm going to try and lean in so he can't get to the ball. Right? I mean, that was his entire tactic. So look, he puts his foot up to try and clear it, but as Gov says, like he's trying to lean into Kiefer Moore to stop him from getting there, and he doesn't want to get involved in a headed battle because I think he knows he's going to lose it, and let's face it, he probably would have done. But what happens is that he tries to push him out of the way, doesn't do that. And the guy, to be fair, again, it's a good header. Like he doesn't have time to really set himself. He's just trying to get his head on the ball and it flies past Lloris. But it's one of those weird things that I would say 95 times out of 100, Kiefer Moore gets his head on the ball and it balloons over the bar because he doesn't have it. He can't really control it. And always it looks really bad.
Always us. It's always against us.
A little bit. I mean, it's a really good cross, and it's one that you want your centre forward to attack, which is what happened. But yeah, like Emerson looks bad because it went in, and it's the same with the Longley one. Like, yes, he could do better, but I don't blame him necessarily for trying to avoid a straight battle in the air, because then Kiefer Moore would have got there and maybe would have scored even easier than he did.
We're going to talk about Emerson and the selection for Marseille shortly, but so we'll part that one. But did you? Apparently, Sanchez got taken out in the aftermath. I didn't see that. Did any of you guys see that? No. Yeah.
I just saw them both on the floor.
Sanchez, apparently.
Royal's leaning into Kiefer Moore.
Yeah.
So of course he's not really balanced on his feet, and so when he goes to fall over and Sanchez is backpedaling, and they fall into each other, and it looks complete Keystone Cops. But Sanchez never had a chance of getting to it. Sanchez is trying to get there, but I think he knows he's not going to get there.
Him getting wiped out's a thing, though, isn't it? I mean, do you remember that when he went face first for the ball? That was comedy, absolute gold. I could watch that all day long. But Sanchez has provided some great. I mean, it's sad, but he's provided some great comedy moments over the years.
It's Phil Jones-esque, right? When Phil Jones is trying to do all he can to stop the ball, Sanchez is no different.
No.
It's just that Man City thing, good again, just had him.
Oh, it's just amazing.
It's brains versus desire at that point.
Yeah, I agree. Sessegnon was just about to be replaced when he scored, HG. I'm going to stick with you because you're his biggest fan. This is what we want to see him do more of, though, right? Powered through. Lovely finish into the far corner. I thought it was a really lovely taken goal. Nice through ball as well by Højbjerg. Deserves some props for that.
Oh, it's a brilliant through ball. Through ball made the goal. I mean, basically, Sessegnon... Yeah, granted,
well, he had a lot to do.
No. To be fair, like Sessegnon, the two touches he had were as perfect as they could be, right? Because the first one got it out of his feet, and the second one found the far corner of the goal. You can't expect more from that. I just think that when you're a wing back and you can't cross a ball and you can't defend, I'm glad that there's something that he can do, because he does that really, really well. And that's who he was at Fulham. Right? At Fulham, he would get on the end of other people's work and usually find the back of the net. That his technique has never really been in question. It's just the other part of the game, where the part that involves opponents, where he struggles. So it was a brilliant goal. But Højbjerg's pass, I mean, have we seen a better pass this season at Spurs?
Absolute splitter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't obvious. No. Sometimes you look at the TV and you see passes before they play them. Because we're lucky we get to see the whole pitch from the camera angle. Nobody saw that pass from Højbjerg. I think when he hits it, we're all just kind of like, where's that going? And then Sessegnon comes in from outside the screen. So it was a lovely goal. It really was a well taken goal, and you've got to give Sessegnon credit for that. Absolutely.
Becky, do you think Højbjerg is still underrated?
I'm not one of those people who kind of is a kind of Højbjerg hater. Yes, he waves his arms around a lot. But watching Bentancur in the Newcastle game, he did that fair bit because he was very frustrated. So I think there is a lot of, they're trying to communicate with each other. And I was watching Dyer do it at the Sporting game as well. That they've obviously been told to do that. So he scored a lot of goals this season. He's just very frustrating because when he loses the ball, or for example, if we go back to the Sporting game, he lost the ball, didn't he, for when Edwards scored, and there's been times where he's lost the ball and it's been quite important. But equally, when he gets the opportunity to move further up the pitch, he is the one that is putting those kind of runs together. And if we've got Bentancur doing that as well, more the better. I think, like I said the other day, that watching the thing on that he did on Football Focus, like I tweeted to say, these are human people, and they do see what gets commented and things, and that we want them to be great all the time. It's just frustrating when he, isn't quite as good. But then when he's great, we really benefit from it as well. And like I said, that pass on Saturday and seeing him hugging Conte at the final whistle as well was great. I don't.
Well, Dyer and Bentancur came on. Dyer at right centre back. James, are you a fan?
I mean, it was an interesting one, but I suppose when you still had Davies and Longley as your other two options. You can't really put Longley as the right-sided centre-back, can you?
No.
The one thing is, it did mean Dyer got forward a lot more, which he should be a bit more suited to, considering he used to play midfield. I don't think
he missed 2 open goals on Wednesday night, to be fair, from forward positions, and arguably a volley as well, but yeah.
I don't think he was incredible, but I also don't think he was awful going forward. I mean, if we had someone other than Romero as well, who was a top central centre-back, he can play that role perfectly serviceably. Well, quite well, I think.
Rumour is he can cross, HG.
Dyer can cross. Absolutely, he can cross. He's shown that for Spurs over the years. I mean, he's 8.5 years at Spurs? Like, I certainly remember one goal. I think it was Everton last day of the season, and he whipped it in, and Harry Kane kind of stooped to head it in the far corner. That Eric Dyer can ping, to use the modern term. He can ping a ball, he can cross a ball. And I think that, considering who we've seen play right centre-back this season, it's mostly been Romero, but obviously Sanchez has done it too, and I think Royal played there a few minutes once. Dyer's half hour there was the most we saw a centre back get forward all year. Like, Royal likes to get involved and Romero likes to get involved, but Dyer wasn't just involved, he had the ball. He wasn't becoming an extra man in the pitch. He was willing to get there. There was a 1-2 he played with Lucas, and I'm thinking, like, logically, Lucas should be the one running down the outside and Dyer should be playing it to him, but it was the other way around. And, like, I realise that we don't have a great deal of option, but I would be tempted if Longley plays as well as he can, and I think he can do the Dyer role, the centre back role.
Yeah.
Then maybe, I mean, we might see it tomorrow night, but maybe an idea of having Davies at the left, Longley in the middle, and Dyer on the right. If Romero's out, that's probably our best option.
It's better than seeing Sanchez near the first team, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I understand that Sanchez is probably going to play. But I just think that Sanchez's game has always been about defending and stopping.
Yeah.
Right. It's not been about using the ball wisely. Even at Ajax, like to me, this is going to sound like a ridiculous comparison. But do you mean, like, Van Dijk at Southampton was good, but not great, right? Because he had to do quite a bit of defending and would sometimes get found out. He went to Liverpool, and because of the style they play, he suddenly looks like this incredible centre back. When all he has to do is run from side to side and snuff out the odd fire, like not too much. If you were to ask that of Sanchez, which is probably what he did at Ajax, Sanchez would probably look good because all he has to do is, to stop the odd attack. And at Spurs, he's being asked to either defend deeply, which suits him, or worse for him, to actually become part of the attacking side and to use the ball. And that's not his game. So it's awkward to see Sanchez trying to do those things in the same way it's awkward to watch Royal trying to cross a ball or to be an attacking threat. It's not really his game either. And Dyer has shown, it's only half an hour, right? But I think he showed in that half an hour that he's a really good option to play that.
No, I agree. You all right, James?
Yeah, I live next to a main road, so sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's all whiz past on a moped. Perisic came on 5 minutes later for Emerson, so Seth switched to right wing back, something no one saw coming really. But Perisic, immediate quality. The corners. Why doesn't he take all our corners, Becky? I mean, Perisic, Son takes a lot of them, doesn't he? I think he's our main corner taker. Perisic should surely be on them so much better.
Yeah, and in the Facebook group for Northwest Spurs, we always have to predict the score before each Premier League match, and there's bonus points for things like yellow cards and corners. I predicted 4. We had 20 corners on Saturday, slightly out. But yeah, Perisic was taking them from the right-hand side, wasn't he? And Sonny was taking them more on the left-hand side near the away fans. But yeah, I like the way that Spurs tweeted that Davis jumped up like a salmon with his arms by his side and just it was shocking goalkeeping, but it was a great header. And very calm, really, to kind of loop it over all the defenders. Yeah, good goal.
And then Cess came off for Hill, which, delighted to see that. Hill's got another 8 minutes under his belt. That'll please Davo. And then Lucas to right wing back. No, would it be crazy to suggest Lucas should play right wing back for the rest of his Spurs career, James?
No. I mean, he's probably better in that role than he is as an actual right winger, right? I mean, it's funny because if Moura went to right wing back, Emerson Royal could go to a position where I think he'd be much better, which is not on the pitch at all. Yeah, you think he'd have all the qualities of that kind of player, and he did train as one during preseason, right? So, I don't know. Is it just an option Conte wants late on in games if we're chasing it? But I don't know. Maybe he's not strong enough or something. But he's not awful.
Not like Hill. Yeah, not big enough.
Well, if you're playing as a wing back, I think you've got to defend a bit more. But then he can't be worse defensively than Matt Doherty, and at least he does run with the ball forward. So
yeah. Okay. And then obviously grandstand finish, Becky.
I was just thinking it was 72 minutes, wasn't it, that we equalised? And I was sat at home slightly behind with the stream. And I'm trying to think, did I think we were going to score? I think probably I did, just because of the way we played in the second half against Sporting, and I was kind of constant. And someone just put in the comments about the number of corners indicates, the amount of times we were running forward. And Watching it back, though, I felt the defender should have done better, really, for the final corner for the last goal, because he was kind of free and just sort of heads it out, doesn't he? We've forgotten to mention that Højbjerg shot as well. You know, the one that he kind of curled it over. And there's that guy behind the goal, isn't there, sort of going, yeah, that was a good chance. The one that he said was a corner, which it clearly wasn't. Yeah, so the one we scored was Sonny, the near side from Sonny, which, you know me, everyone knows, follows me on Twitter. I love Sonny. It was probably the only one he actually got on the penalty spot. And then it kind of came back off the defender, and Bentancur hit it. And then he just sort of side-footed it in this kind of loop over everybody.
Lovely finish.
Really lovely. And the camera angle, HG saying there, at the camera angle that we have, we were kind of watching it go in. And then, unfortunately, Bentancur runs away from the away fans. I wasn't at the game, but he runs away from the away fans. But then Sonny, those of you who've seen it on Twitter, Sonny goes absolutely nuts in front of the away fans, jumping and celebrating, which is pretty much how I celebrated. I nearly broke the cat. But yeah. And then people are like, oh, you can't celebrate because after Wednesday you can't celebrate. I'm still hopeful that tomorrow means Wednesday is a good piece of history. I will never forget the way I celebrated on Wednesday. Me and Jack were hugging random people. We were running up and down the stairs. We were screaming. It was the best. Because I wasn't at the Arsenal game. It was the best celebration I've had in that stadium. And it isn't because it was a last minute winner. It's because it was Kane, and we're going to qualify for the Champions League and all of that. People were saying, "Oh, you can't celebrate now because of VAR." I had a delayed stream, so I must admit on Saturday I did quickly look at my phone. It said that it was 3-2, and then I kind of did celebrate. But we shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to celebrate in the moment, and I don't believe that we shouldn't celebrate.
Just be aware that the moment may be swiped away from you. That's all.
Yeah, but you can't not celebrate for that reason.
No.
Yeah, I think it was a great finish, and it was lovely that it was 2 games in a row that Bentancur has scored. Quite different goals, but kind of set pieces. It was just, I think I don't want us to leave it that late tomorrow. But it was still a great goal.
Yeah, these last minute goals are no good for the health. Absolutely not. Yeah. There you go. So what do we take for the game? I mean, it's a pretty good performance, wasn't it, HG? I know half time, I think a lot of people were slating us. I don't think we were as bad as the scoreline suggested. Certainly not. So, and obviously scored 3 goals in the second half. So there's some positives to take away.
There are lots of things that, like, if you're losing 1-0 to Bournemouth, you could play really well, and I don't think any of us would be thinking it would be a great first half. Like, I remember thinking at 2-0 down, it's more likely that Bournemouth score a third than Spurs getting 3. Like, even though I know we have it in us, I looked at our bench and thought, what's going to change? Because, again, we didn't really change much formation-wise. We just brought Dyer back into the team and Bentancur back into the team, and suddenly we got stronger and better. And, once we got the first, I think we all thought, okay, now it's on, because Bournemouth are going to get much more defensive, which they did, right?
2-0 is a horrible scoreline. And you win in 2-0 and you get 2-1 and the opposition score and it's 2-1. You're on bricks, aren't you?
Well, also, but Bournemouth didn't actually do that much else. I was trying to think this the other day. They didn't. It wasn't like there weren't loads of chances, because even on Wednesday, Lloris made those 2 saves when it was still 1-0. Bournemouth didn't have that many chances, so it didn't feel like we were out of the game. Not like the United game. The United game felt like we were never coming back from that, and it just wasn't gonna happen. So I think that helps. Bournemouth didn't seem to be peppering our goal. We were building that kind of momentum.
I think it's just weird that, like, Bentancur coming in for Bissouma and Dyer coming, like, Dyer for Sanchez, fair enough. I think we all know that Sanchez doesn't really fit there, and we didn't know what Dyer was going to be like. But Bentancur for Bissouma, you don't expect there to be such a massive change. There shouldn't really be such a massive change in how we play. But Bentancur comes on, and I think the camera actually pans to him, and you can see him geeing up the rest of the team. Because, it is possible for Spurs to score 3 goals in half hour, especially against Bournemouth. Like, it's unlikely, but it is possible. And so the idea that, yes, we can go and do it, it matters a great deal. So, it's to take away from it, what can you take away? The fact that we look better with certain people, the ones that have been starting games all season. maybe we looked better by having Sessegnon further up the pitch, because second half we did push up fire up the pitch. We weren't playing as defensively, even though we conceded. That those things can happen, as Becky said. Bournemouth didn't recreate anything. I think after that goal, they didn't have a shot.
No,
I mean, so like I think the only thing I can really take away from it is that we won, and we don't have to think about it anymore because we've got a much bigger game tomorrow.
and I think the thing is, it gives us a psychological boost going into. You can imagine losing a Bournemouth would have been dreadful from Royal going away to Marseille, which would be an incredibly hostile atmosphere. We know. Just wrapping up the Bournemouth game, though, this ball boy was a bit of a cock, wasn't he?
I had my first Twitter spat over this on Saturday because I'm quite lucky. I don't really get any idiots, and I had to keep reiterating because they obviously read my bio and they're like, "You're a teacher," and then it's like, yeah, I would have said, "You have to give the ball back. You're a ball boy." And if it was Jack, I'd have said, "You have to give the ball back. You're a ball boy." He knew what he was doing. And Mora is, we talked before, he's the least likely person to rough somebody up, Mora. It's not that kind of, I like that kind of thing though. And that kind of, we don't like that Spursy phrase, but that kind of idea that we've got a little bit more kind of grit now, and we need that. And that's, the sort of thing we need. Weirdly as well, Kane got booked for dissent on Saturday.
Yeah,
when we got given
now, by the way,
he is
one
him,
away from the ban.
Yeah, him and Bentaker are on full booking. But he got booked for dissent when we got given a free kick. Like, what? But having that kind of steel, we need that. We do need that.
You talk about Bentancur not running to the away fans. If he's on full bookings, it's probably a good thing. Because he could have got caught up in it quite easily. And then suddenly the Liverpool game, you're thinking, oh, great, here we go again. Like Liverpool last year, where our midfield three was Delhi and Dombele and Winks.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're not going to see that on Sunday. But we move on from the game. We got the 3 points that, probably, on paper we should get. You shouldn't go 2-0 down to Bournemouth, even if they do play quite well with the players that they've got. They definitely made it difficult for us. I see the comment here from Darren. The Bournemouth fans thought they battered us. I don't know about batter. They took the chances that came their way and they restricted us because we couldn't get going at all. So I guess that equals a battering because, if you're doing what you want to do and you're stopping the other team doing what they want to do, isn't that the point of football? But tomorrow is so much more important than the Bournemouth result. The Bournemouth result is great because 3 points where we are, we needed it. Chelsea obviously losing was a great thing to get those to gain 3 instead of just 1 was massive.
I mean, that's a good position, isn't it? 13 games in, third place. I mean, admittedly, United could potentially overtake us, but it's going to be tight by the end of this. It's going to be really tight top 6 race this season, isn't it?
Someone was tweeting today to say that it's like yesterday or today. It was a year that Conte's been here, and he arrived, and we were in the Europa League, and we were 7th or whatever it was, or 11th or something. And you're like, the transformation is very stark. And we've still got so much more to do, and so many areas that we can still improve in. This whole kind of doom and gloom thing. I have
We're
to
not
say
quite a club in crisis right now.
No, if we lose tomorrow, though, I'm not going on Twitter. I just can't face it. It will just be horrendous. I'll feel bad enough as it is.
We get the Europa League. What's better than that?
Yeah.
It's very strong, the Europa League this year. It's like the Champions League B.
It's a very strong Europa League every year, isn't it? There's so many good teams that fall into it now. It's like like in England, you got Newcastle joining the elite. I think over the next couple of years, certainly. So the big 6 will become a big 7.
If Newcastle make Europe, then they'll have to deal with that because they haven't had to deal with that for a number of years. Like Newcastle are probably going to do what Man City did. Right, because Man City didn't go from being nothing to something overnight. It took them a few years. There was the year that we beat them to 4th in the Champions League when we first qualified. So I'm impressed with what Newcastle were doing because they haven't gone out and spent a fortune on players really, and they've bought very well. I mean, Isaac's not in the team because he's injured. So that side that played us yesterday, a lot of them played in the Spurs game last year when we beat them 5-1. So Newcastle were doing well, but I'm not as I don't know. I like the idea of competition. I really do. Right. So if Newcastle come in and make life more difficult for Spurs, yes, that sucks.
But they're making life more difficult for every other team in the top.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about you. Like, we're sitting in a situation now where, I mean, I was looking at this, right? So our record right now is what, 8 wins, 2 draws, and 3 defeats. And a lot of Spurs fans think, okay, we've been a bit lucky. But the final 13 games at the end of last season, when we caught Arsenal and took 4th from them, the record was only 3 points better in those last 13 games than where we are. So we played a lot better at the end of last season and got really good results. And this year, we haven't played as well for various reasons, but the results haven't been that much different. In fact, they've been pretty much better than you would have expected based on the performances. So you just have to, you do have to look at the positives here. We're getting wins by playing players that none of us think are good enough week in, week out. Yes, we're being somewhat fortunate. There's no doubt about that. But you hope, there's always that hope that the changes will be made eventually and we will figure it out. And the awful thing is it might take 2 defeats for that change to be made, just as it was when we lost to Southampton and Wolves back in, was it February? And then suddenly we went on that run and we won a load of games. It's not a bad time to be a Spurs fan. Even if things go against us tomorrow night, it's not a bad time to be a Spurs fan, because if we get to January or after. Sorry, I think I went. Can you still see me? Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. If we get to January and we're still within 5-6 points of top, then there will be this something is now on. And it might be then you might be thinking, well, maybe we sack off the Europa League and say, we're going to go for domestic football only. Conte's record in Europe isn't great anyway. So I don't want it to happen. I want us to go for everything. But let's be honest, in the Champions League, if we get through first or second, we might get out in the last 16. I don't expect us to have the run that we did under Poch. I really don't. So I don't know. There, even if you lose, there are still so many positives.
Just on this, by the way, it's going to be a big. You're going to get 5 Champions League spaces. I think, is it season after next? So
Yeah.
There you go. It's not going to be any difficult. Technically, it shouldn't be any more difficult.
It's 4 from 6 now, which is not easy.
And it'll be 5 from 7.
And 5 from 7, yeah. Again,
why are they doing that? Why are they changing it?
Because it's more money, isn't it?
Yes,
they
money,
play more games. I think the rule.
Is it next season last year? Is it the year after? I can't remember.
I think it's 24-25. It starts.
Yeah.
They have, basically, they're going to have 36 teams in it, and you play 10 games.
Like a giant league, isn't it?
It's you have to look it up, Becky, because it's kind of difficult to really understand when you read about it. But the idea being is that you play more games. You don't play 6 games. You play 10. And then
actually, I think I remember the fuss about it now, saying about when it was going to be brought in. Yeah, no, I think I remember.
Just to stop the Super League happening, basically, is to give people.
Yeah, that's right. It was their version of the Super League, wasn't it? Yeah, I do remember.
A sweetener, but yeah. So it'll be like you say, 5 from 7. Anyway,
answering Kerry. Go on.
Sorry, this thing about Kerry. Do we? If we, I don't think
well, not necessarily. It depends on the other.
It's too tight, isn't it? Because isn't it 8-8-7-7 or 8-7-7-6 or something like that? I think
that if we lose, then Marseille definitely go above us. And if the other game is a draw, then Sporting go above us on head-to-head. So we would be out of the Champions League if we lose, no matter what. But if we draw, then we're through, no matter what. It's just a question of whether it's first or second, but we're through.
It's going to be a proper cup knockout game, then, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's
it's like the time we went to Barcelona, right? We went to Barcelona, and everyone thought, we're not going to get what we need, and we got a point, and it ended up being enough.
Not everyone.
Conte referred to it as a final. That slightly worried me when he said that, because I know he's not been in any Spurs finals with us, but we all remember how awful we are at finals. So yeah, that was a slightly odd phrase.
Just waiting for the Warrior Trophy. When we win. Difficult place to go. Marseille's form, they blew a 2-0 halftime league away at lowly placed Strasbourg on Saturday. Home team scoring an equaliser in the added on time. And they've only taken 1 point in the last 3 games in the league. So Dr. Tottenham will see you now. They beat Sporting both home and away. However, Sporting had a player sent off in the first half of both those games. So slightly misleading. James, your thoughts on this?
We're going to win. It's all good. Just don't play Emerson. Simple. Enough said.
That's how they've lined up. Against Frankfurt. HG, any analysis for us? Do you think? I believe they've got Eric Bailly is the main doubt, apparently. And Alexis Sanchez has been quoted as saying he'd love to knock out Spurs, which is beautiful, isn't it?
Well, of course he would. I mean, that team, although it's a different 11 than the one that played us at Spurs, it seems very similar in the fact that they play with one attacker, and everyone else is like attacking midfielders, wing backs. Like, I mean, Guendouzi was always a defensive midfielder at Arsenal, and now he's playing, behind the striker. So, like, it's not a bad team. Like, I think I'm happy if Payet can't play because we know how good he can be. But Marseille were very good against Spurs. They made it very difficult for us. And until Mbemba got sent off, we were struggling. So it's not going to be easy. But again, it's about taking your chances. Frankfurt took theirs against Marseille, and that's why they beat them. And it's obvious, but it's true. So we've got to be strong in midfield. We've got to make it difficult. And you hope that then the pace, hopefully we have pace that can hurt them. Because if Doherty plays at right wing back or Emerson plays at right wing back, then of course we're going to be quite easy to defend against. So we have to be able to have something that where the Marseille defenders say we can't go forward, and we have to be wary of what Spurs can do.
Becky, tell us your team lineup then. How would you set Spurs up to take on this?
I think, like you were saying before, I think that possibly Longley in the middle and Dyer on the right centre back, and then Davis left centre back, and then Cess and Perisic. I think Cess has got that speed. I think he's mature enough now to cope with the atmosphere. Because the other thing, I know Conte's not there on the touchline, but he'll want his experienced players to step up. Davis is used to Champions League games. Dyer is, it's even with it's not completely full, it's going to be an awful atmosphere. It's going to be very hostile. My worry is that we get either they concede something like an early penalty, or somebody gets sent off. Something that kind of is like, something like that it takes it from being a level playing field. We had a normal game against Bournemouth, didn't we? I think because Bournemouth had got screwed by VAR the week before and Spurs did on Wednesday, it was quite nice. I was predicting there would be no VAR issues at all, because I have to say this, my conspiracy is that when any team has this VAR, the following week we never hear of any, and the weekend after we have like 5 or 6 games. It just seems to happen like that. So I just want it to be a game where it isn't affected by something that we couldn't control, or some 2 seconds of madness, because then I do think we have the quality to at least get a draw. Like I just said before, I don't want to be hanging on it being 0-0 and all the corners that we concede, because whether Royal comes on, because if Conte changes it as well for whatever reason, and we've got Royal on, and then he doesn't jump for a header for a corner and all that sort of stuff, which we've seen this season so far already. That's how Frankfurt scored, wasn't it, the second one? And yeah, I'd love to say that we start really well on the front foot, and we go 2-0 up really early on, I still would be panicking then.
Like if I'm Marseille, I'm looking at that thinking, we need to win. Right? Marseille have to win. A draw is no good to them. They have to win. So what do they do?
They can still top the group.
They can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They can.
But
the point is, that if you're Marseille, do you go full out for 90 minutes knowing full well that Spurs are good on the counter-attack? Or do you say, you know what, we'll keep it tight for 70 and then we'll go hell for leather, hoping that we nip one and we can hang on? Because what Becky's just described as the worst possible thing could be for Marseille exactly what they want. They don't want it to be 90 minutes, back and forth. They want it to be 20 minutes back and forth where they can really go for it. So, I mean, I suspect, but the team, as you saw there, they play with 5 in midfield, and Alexis is not going to be able to hold the ball up. So it's really going to be down to Spurs. What do Spurs do? I mean, Harit is a decent attacking midfielder, probably the closest thing they have to a second striker there. But I just think that Spurs need to think, like, if Sanchez is the one person, we've got 3 centre-backs, let one of those 3 go forward. Let one of those 3 join in. And since Royal is so awkward at going forward, I would prefer it to be the right-sided player that can go forward and help out. That way, if Royal drops back, it doesn't matter so much.
Royal won't play.
I would be very surprised if Royal
Doherty will
doesn't
play.
You sure? Because it's Conte.
Yep.
Conte
No,
always
I think he
Royal.
rested. I think he rested Doherty at the weekend. I think that's why he didn't play.
Oh my gosh!
I genuinely do. Genuinely
Okay.
do. I'm convinced. And he would. I mean, I'm not going to go back through the Emerson stuff again, but I can't believe he's going to play him again. I cannot believe he's going to play him again.
Lots of conversations I keep having with Spurs fans is what does Conte see that we don't see at games? Because even if you watch it on the TV, you know, like I can remember, was it in Newcastle? There was up the other end. He jumps, didn't he, with his leg and his arm like this, and it kind of they decided it was too close, and he's just like you just said, very awkward. So when you're at a game as well, you just see his positioning and
his
like,
ball control and his touch.
But he must be really good in training. That his touches are really quick, and you know that kind of. I was saying this to my dad.
His saving grace, as far as Conte is concerned, will be his attitude, but and his defensive work. But even that's not great. Look, for me, he's not got much competition, has he? Doherty is not, you know, a wonderful right wing back. Let's be honest.
But you just said that Conte will play Doherty.
You know, I think he will. I think he's his first choice. I genuinely think he rested him at the weekend.
But I mean,
played him on Tuesday, didn't he? He played him based on the fact that he started him last week in the Champions League.
So you think that whoever played the Champions League game last week was kind of like designed to play that one, and the Bournemouth was always going to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. I just
that's my logic. If you want to, but we'll see. I would my starting 11. I think he'll play Doherty at right wing back. Obviously, the racing goal. It's going to be if Romero's not fit, then I think he'll play Sanchez. Sadly. And I think Longley will be, Dyer will be the man in the middle. And I think Davis will be on the left. And then it'll probably be Perisic, I would imagine, left wing back. Bentancur, Højbjerg. And then it's, you know, if there's only 2 forwards fit again, which it looks like there is, it's obviously going to be Kane and Son up top. So flip a coin, it's probably going to be, might well be Ollie Skip in there, I think. He seems to be easing him in and giving him more minutes, doesn't he? I don't know. What's your 11 look like, HG? Would you agree with that? Or
to be fair, I was reading the comments. I think again, it's the 3-5-2, 3-4-3 thing. Like, if we want to score, then you play a third attacker. Who's that third attacker is going to be? It would be Lucas.
No, kill.
No, like it's not like. You're asking me what I would do? Yeah, then I would go 3-5-2 for sure, right? Yeah. Because as much as 3-4-3 might give us more chances of scoring, we don't have the players to do it, in my opinion. So 3-5-2, toss a coin between Bissouma and Skip. I'd probably go for Skip a little bit more, if I'm honest. So you have Skip sitting, and then have Bentancur and Højbjerg being more of the attack dogs, however you want to phrase it.
I'd rather we start Lucas at right wing back and over any of our right backs. But I don't think he will.
Yeah, no, it's rough because I mean the thing is like it's a final, so you can't go too gung ho. Even if a goal is going to be good for us, I'm kind of tempted to be like I would try and keep it tight because we're very good from set pieces. What matters to me is that we don't sit on the edge of our own 18-yard box. That's what I don't want. If we play 3-5-2, fine. We'll play 3-5-2 higher up the pitch. And if Emerson plays, that I would be all right with that. I really would. I think Doherty is a better wing back, but we talked about at the start of the season that we want to see Emerson play in the bigger games because he's good defensively. This is a big game. I don't care so much about Emerson getting forward in this game. It's going to be for probably if Højbjerg's on the right-hand side or Bentancur or whoever it is in the central midfield to get up there and support the attack. But, so Perisic on the other side, obviously. So Kane and Son on top, back three of Davies, Longley, and Dyer. That's what I would do.
Yeah. James, here's a question for you. What does Hill have to do to get a start?
Blackmail Conte.
I mean, clearly, I would say that Emerson's got Conte nudes. So,
I mean, Emerson reminds me of the guy who, when I played Sunday League, would always show up to training and try really hard and always be there, but who was like horrific.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason they ever played. So it must be that. I mean, I imagine Gill will get starts in the cups, right? But yeah, in big games, maybe. I don't know. Maybe if like all of our strikers get ill before the next game, then maybe Gill plays. But
and if Emerson has nudes of Conte would have him taken care of.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
Like, it's not going to be, oh, well, in that case, you can play every game, sir. It will be like, off you fuck. Do you know what I mean? That's it.
You're getting whacked.
Yeah. So this is the frustrating thing with Spurs, is that we can look at our team and most fans would set it up somewhat differently. You can argue about 3-5-2, 3-4-3 all you want, but not many of us would agree with Conte. You can sit behind here and say, well, I trust him because he was there as a player and he's done everything as a manager and all the rest of it. And that's an understandable position. But when you look at Spurs every game like we do, you'd have to question that at some point. You really, despite the results being good, you'd have to question it.
One for you, Becky. Conte not being on the sidelines. Obviously, he got that red card. It's a concern, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's still, I'm still not 100% sure what it was.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Becky.
Oh,
don't know why.
Can you hear me now?
Keep talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yay! There you go.
Yeah, I was saying I'm not still 100% sure what it was he's actually been sent off for, because whether he swore at somebody or it was, because it was half the team was on the pitch, so it can't be for encroaching. Yeah, I think it's a bit. Someone just put in the comment there: is it kind of overstated his impact on the line? But people were saying on Saturday that he was telling Longley and Sanchez, wasn't he, to run faster and shout, run, this sort of thing. And I've said before on here that Sessegnon definitely plays better when he's got Conte in front of him shouting instructions, and equally when Doherty's on that side and he's got Conte shouting instructions. So we lose that. I think it is. I think it's a big mess when you haven't got your manager on side. But at the end of the day, he can tell them what he wants them to do, and they've still got to go ahead and do it. But yeah, I do think it is. It's unfortunate.
Right, what's your view on it, HG? Do you think they miss Conte when he's not there?
I would. If you're so used to someone bellowing, you'd miss it. So maybe it would be a good thing to not have it. If you're playing in front of him, you're going to get it all the time, and so Emerson gets it for 45 minutes. But maybe that's the reason he plays so badly. If he's 45 minutes in front of Conte, it's clearly not what you want, right? Because he is the strength that we have. We don't know enough about the assistants, really. It's not like when Mourinho was in charge and we all kind of knew who João Sacramento was, but it's not ideal. I'm sure that we will do everything we can in the hotel, and the players will show up. And you can write everything down. Conte can pre-record various things, and they can play it in the dressing room.
I don't think Ryan Mason delivering him quite so well.
So it's not ideal, but it was always going to be what happens on the pitch anyway. You just hope that whoever is standing there that they can hear, says what Conte wants them to say, and I'm sure he can.
Well, the captain's got to step up as well, and Hugo's got to really step up and captain that side strongly.
But the leaders that we have, whether it's Højbjerg in his arms or Bentancur in his arms or Kane and whatever, they have to do it, right? I don't mind players showing that they care or to telling people what to do. I really don't mind that. I would rather that than just kind of everyone watching what was going on and worrying about themselves. You have to have someone who kind of takes a bit of collective responsibility and says, I'm going to help you do your job. But the spine of our team is Dyer, Højbjerg, Kane, and Lloris. They're the 4 people that are going to make the most impact. So you hope that they say what needs to be said.
Okay. Let's do predictions. James, what are you saying? Are we going to go through? What's the score?
2-1 Spurs. Yeah, we're going to go through. It's going to be awkward. I reckon Conte will find a way to shout at them. He'll get
Emerson
like a
with the
megaphone.
winner.
No. Hopefully Emerson, stays at home. Food poisoning. I don't care. Maybe he'll be heartbroken about the Brazilian election results and he'll have to stay in comfort more and then they can both stay home. I reckon Conte is going to stand up in the stands. He's going to
just on this. Is it a full stadium ban or is he in the stand? I mean, I don't know. I thought he was allowed in the stadium, but
they said in the press conference the guy, I've forgotten his name. He said in the press conference he would be in the stands, but not being able to communicate with the dugout. But he would be in the stand. Yeah.
Well, then you just put Conte in the front row,
yeah,
and he's just screaming as a fan.
Yeah.
I'm not communicating with my players, but Emerson is now called Roy.
Emerson is. Someone clip that. That's a great trailer for the show.
He's going to get
Roy.
He's going to get the guy next to him. He's going to be some massive bloke, and be like, "Mate, can you say this for me?" And there's just going to be this, fat old bloke who looks like he's from any Wetherspoons anywhere. Like, "Oi, Roy! He said do that. Go forward."
Yeah.
Gov's just asking there, why didn't they appeal? I think because they were worried he would get 2. There's a rumour that he's going to get 2 anyway because of his comments after the game about it being fixed.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't appeal it.
What's this? Well, and because unfortunately it does appear that the decision may have been right, contentious as though that is. Becky, what's the score going to be?
I'd like it to be 2-1, like James said. I have a feeling it might be 0-0. I don't know. I just that phrase, we need a positive result. And managers say, don't we? We just want a positive result today. Yeah, I'm having a conversation with my friend. I really don't know whether to. I'm not going to Zumba tomorrow. I normally do Zumba 7 till 8. I'm not going to Zumba. I don't know whether to sit and start drinking so that I can't really remember it. So then if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. I didn't remember it. Or to just sit completely sober so that I can then actually sleep afterwards. I'm really not sure, but yeah.
Well, here's my dilemma. Tuesday night is 5-a-side football, 9 p.m. Do I watch Spurs struggle in the Champions League away to Marseille, or do I play football?
You probably missed the second bit. The second half will probably be the better half, won't it? Provided it's not over.
Yeah. Well, I'm 50-50 at the moment. I might bail. Might have an injury scare at the last minute. HG score on the doors?
Whatever will be the most painful for us to watch. So therefore, the answer is 0-0. That's what it's going to be. Like Marseille will probably hit the post in the final minute, and we'll all have a collective heart attack. Because everything that Becky doesn't want to happen, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And she knows it deep down. She knows it. So 0-0. I don't think we'll score. I think we'll have our hearts in our mouths a couple of times, but in the end, we'll have enough. We'll do enough.
That's a great shout. Royal reminds me of Sissoko. I can see the way they play is similar, yeah. Badly. Gov says we're not going to struggle. I'm going to
the away support will be amazing, won't it? It always is. It will be amazing. They will try their hardest. They sang their hearts out on Saturday. They'll do their best. But if it starts very flat, if it starts flat, it just makes it so much harder to kind of build that kind of positive atmosphere.
Yeah. And look, I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to win 2-0, actually. And we'll get a couple of scares from Marseille along the way. I have no doubt. But the caller is calling it 2-0. Harry Kane's going to score, of course he is. Don't worry about it.
We've forgotten to mention how poor our away record in Europe is. We've kind of sort of
I've deliberately omitted
it. Well, we don't need to win. If we needed to win, then I'd be thinking, but fluke in a draw, that's well within our capabilities.
We want to top the group there, HG. We want to top that group.
Of course we do, and we can do that with a draw. I mean, that's still possible, but I just it should never have got this far. We should have got a point at Lisbon. We should have beaten Lisbon last game. This is all on us. If we sink, it's all on us, really. So I think, Caller, you should probably go and play football tomorrow night. Just enjoy yourself, right? Don't worry about checking your phone. Just go,
Probably
and
right.
then on your way home you can, well, don't do a Tony Adams, but you can do whatever you want really when you're driving, and it'll be good. But go and play football. If I could, I probably would, to be honest, but I can't because I've got to do the instant reaction show straight afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. Who's on with you? Is it James?
I have no idea who's on with me. I just know I have to be here to do it.
I
Okay.
can come on.
There you go. See, there you go. We're all there. So there you go. We're going to win. We're going to qualify. We're going to get through. Thanks very much for watching. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And until you're back tomorrow night with HG on the Instant Reaction Show, ranting or raving. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.